Welcome to another short video about FlightZoomer. This time I really want to show you in a very short video, as short as possible, all the 14 new autopilot modes which are implemented in FlightZoomer. On the left hand I will have a presentation showing the 14 modes, and we will tick them off one after another while flying here. Very briefly, let's then also first have a look at the system architecture. What do we have here? I'm basically showing this app here. That's the ground station. It runs on a smartphone and would be as glass cockpit, basically located where the pilot is flying the drone. The ground station is connected in a very tightly coupled via a bidirectional communication with the sensoric app. That's another smartphone which is attached to the copter, and this app controls also the flight controller via Mavlink, via Bluetooth. So end to end we have a processing chain that simulates the avionics of a real aircraft. Commands of the autopilot are sent from the ground station to the sensoric app, and also each and every command is acknowledged, so we can create or provide awareness to the pilot about the state of the autopilot and also the communication. We do have also, once the command reached the sensoric app or the companion computer, in other words to say, it will work autonomously together with the flight controller. So even if the communication would be somewhat interrupted or not 100% up to speed at any point in the time, it would work perfectly and smoothly, process the commands that it received. Good. Then maybe a word about the setup here. I'm running entirely on the desktop of my computer. The apps are running as in emulators, and the sensoric app is compiled in a mode where the flight controller and the movements of the multicopter are simulated. So we really get the feedback on the ground station as if the copter would move, but nothing leaves basically my machine here, my PC. Good. So here we are. We will go through these modes. Everything is prepared. I'm here at the display panel. We see I can switch between the route, which I have loaded, that's this one. Here is destination and origin, and we fly to this waypoint, this, here, 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 and then back. In addition, we will use flying along the radial of a viewer, the VN1, and I can switch between display modes, having either route or the viewer mode is here. Then in the end we will fly an ILS approach to this runway here. Then I can change display mode to app, so we see now the deviation indicators for the ILS, but now first would be flying along this radial. So let's go to the mode control panel. The autopilot is already switched on. We have a target speed of 0. Target direction is runway direction, is 145 degrees, and the current altitude is armed or is kept in alt hold mode. So we start now the flight, we have first the altitude arm mode. So we set the cruise altitude will be 550 meters, and we will set now or arm an intermediate target altitude of 500. Nothing will move first because some of the vertical
altitude
modes
500 armed.
needs to be used to climb to this armed altitude, but we can tick the first mode off. Next is we set a forward speed, something about why not 14.
Speed 14 confirmed.
Then we are now moving with the track over ground mode, 145 degrees. Now we set a vertical speed.
Vertical speed 157 confirmed.
We can change to the
Switch
flight
to
path
flight path
angle,
angle mode,
which now means we are keeping a gradient over ground. Then we set the turn rate to a very slow turn, and now initiate a turn to about north.
Track 357 confirmed.
And you see now it's turning very slowly. That's because we have the turn rate set to the minimum setting. If I increase the turn rate during the turn, that's possible, we will go very quickly to the new target direction. I set the turn rate to auto and arm the localizer. We are approaching the radial, which is
Selected
armed.
localizer armed.
That's this mode. Now it turns on the radial 300, which I have set in the radio navigation page, and we are now following the radial 300 towards the viewer WN1. I switch now the display mode to map to see the planned route. Let's zoom a bit in. We are now approaching the planned route at this waypoint. That's realistic. You usually take off and are flying departure routes before coming or reaching the planned route. I will now activate the LNAV mode,
Lateral navigation activated.
which is the mode that follows the planned route. We have then the VNAV mode. The VNAV mode is following the flight plan vertically, and we have this little mark TC, top of climb. That's the point where we will have reached the 550 meters cruise altitude. What we also have seen is, while we have set the speed to 14, the cruise speed in the flight plan is set to 20. So while flying now along the flight planned route, we are flying with 20 kilometers per hour. We will now make another 2 turns, and then we will go again into one of the basic modes, the track hold, in order to initiate the ILS descent. We will fly here and then turn 2 times and have the ILS. I reduce speed, otherwise everything is going too quickly
Speed 10
for me
confirmed.
now. The ILS capture altitude needs to be 470 meters.
Altitude 469 armed.
I go there with the
Flight level change activated.
With the flight level change mode. This is the green banana. At this location I will have reached the armed target altitude. So in the FIS, let's switch to the approach display mode. We see now the deviation indicator for the ILS. Speed is reduced, the altitude is correct. Let's set the direction which we will have to intersect the
Track
ILS
207 confirmed.
localizer. We change
Switch
this,
to heading mode.
do this in heading mode, which is a variation from the track over ground mode. I now need to activate
ILS
arm the ILS. It turns now onto the localizer. And we are now approaching the glide slope from below. That's the deviation indication from the glide slope. It is now above us and it starts descending to our altitude, and roughly here then we will intersect it and the copter will automatically start to descend. As you maybe have noticed,
ILS fully established.
these are the marker sounds. At the beginning of the runway, the forward speed will automatically be reduced to 0. As you may have noticed, all the transitions vertically and laterally between new courses, new altitudes, new climb or descent gradients are smooth. Okay, so here we are. We stand still. Flight completed.
Autopilot switched off.
I switch off the autopilot, and thanks for watching.